Alright, this is take 2. Hello, YouTube land. Today is Wednesday. Yesterday was May Day. The first day of May. What things do I want to go over today? Well, we'll start with a confession. I have not been kickboxing this week. Not because excuse me. Not because I don't enjoy it, I do, but over the weekend I was in a lot of pain. There was a lot of other stuff going on that had to be dealt with. And this week so far I have not been feeling the best. I also haven't had a significant amount of free time. I'm ordinarily multitasking, but Monday and Tuesday seem to be the days where I'm getting significantly more done out of the entirety of what my week requires I get done. A lot of the cleaning projects, grocery shopping, picking up things for the house, that kind of stuff. But the big thing from the past couple of days, aside from the fact that, as you can see, I've touched up my hair, is I am back to growing things. I've planted triple curl Italian parsley and basil. And then yesterday I decided to also plant tomatoes. Unfortunately, in the interim, I was coming home with the stuff I needed for planting the tomatoes, and I ran into our super, and the only room our apartment really has isn't really our apartment. These kind of planters, I have decent size planters. They're, like the rectangular ones and the tall oval kind of thing. So I had them sitting on our fire escape. Now, I was annoyed to begin with because it's supposed to rain all this week, which hadn't been the case when I got the supplies for the parsley and the basil. And I came home with the tomato stuff, and I ran into the super, and I said to him, I wanted to start growing some stuff, and, like herbs and such, and given the nature of how the apartment is spaced, I wanted to make sure we're allowed to have those kind of thing on, like, the fire escape, right? If they're not blocking people using the fire escape, if they're, like, pushed out to the far corner where no one's gonna walk. And he said, I want to say yes, but you actually can't. It's illegal. The fire marshal has told us, he's told all the buildings directly. The fire marshal said it is illegal. You cannot have a thing on the fire escapes. So that was annoying. I mean, I'm sure plenty of people still do it, but I looked around on the fire escapes on our building, because it's a relatively big building and there are several of them, and there's only one that has a planter outside the window, and I'm guessing that's a somewhat older tenant that the super just doesn't really feel like taking issue with, but no one else actually does. I know there had been. I'd seen them. But something must have changed in the last several months because they're not there anymore. It's alright though. I managed to situate another window that faces the same way, that gets sun absolutely the entire day when the sun is shining. It's cloudy and right now, but so now it's just a matter of teaching myself not to overwater. Because in the past, I do have something of a green thumb. I can grow things. I don't usually have the room, the space, or the time, but I can. My problem is that I have trouble telling what qualifies the soil as wet. Because different soil requires different things, and different plants require different amounts of water, and it's been so long since I've tried to grow an herb garden or anything like it, that, it's going to take some figuring out. What else? But yeah, I haven't been doing the kickboxing. I've been doing that instead because I've been busy and I haven't been feeling well, but I'm looking forward to when it grows. I really like to cook, and the more completely, genuinely fresh ingredients I can use, the happier I'll feel about it. And I've been contemplating some new recipes, a kind of savory whoopie pie, and I'm thinking of making bagels either this afternoon or tomorrow. It depends. I have doctor's appointments tomorrow and Friday, so it depends on how busy I really want to be. Excuse me. Meanwhile, the last couple of days, as I said, remarkably taxing. So today is one of those days where, excuse me, since I really have the time, because I'm caught up on everything, I'm probably going to spend the better part of the day asleep. Or not really asleep. I guess sleep is the wrong term. I sleep so much at night. Resting, inert, relaxing. I don't know. I'm going to be relatively stationary with something cold to drink, and contemplating what to have for lunch and dinner. That's what I'm going to be doing with most of my time. Although I think I already know what I'm going to make for supper. I did drop weight, though. That was the other thing. That's why I mentioned the kickboxing. I did the kickboxing 3 times last week. I actually fit in 10 minutes of it one day, and my body just went, no. I've been doing significant amounts of walking the last couple of days instead. And at my high point, I was 340 pounds. I got down to 320 within the 6 weeks, excuse me, before I had the gastric bypass. That was, oh my God, 2004 or 5. I know it was May of one of those years, whichever one Friends ended, because I was at home recovering when the finale aired. So it was like May 5th of one of those 2 years. And since then, I did a pretty decent job of maintaining my weight up until I moved back to New York. And I think part of that is, well, you know, it's New York. There's good food almost everywhere. And the second part of it was stress, which is too long a thing to get into in a podcast, really. You kind of have to follow along as I talk about different things at different posts. But I was about 175 at my lowest, and then when I moved back to New York in 2006, I was back up to about 200, which is decent. It's respectable. And considering how I naturally carry weight, I didn't really look 200. I mean, I looked reasonably 180-ish, which is where I should be for being my height and gender and all that. Actually, a few weeks ago I found out I'm actually taller than I've always been told. I'm fully 2 inches taller than I'd always been told. So I don't know, maybe I'm standing up straighter or something, because I don't know why. So I'm not 5'4", I'm actually 5'6". But that's okay. And I don't wear heels. I can't, actually, my feet. But within the few years I moved back to New York, I stayed relatively the same weight. I did put some on in the 2 years I was living with my ex-best friend, before I started dating Sam, who's now my husband. In the time Sam and I have been together, I've mentioned this before, I got comfortable. I got comfortable, and quite frankly, I got spoiled. Much like me, Sam has a habit of wanting to take care of people, and basically taking care of people often means feeding them, which is a fine instinct, but the methodology and the practice takes work. Sam, prior to my becoming a regular part of his existence, ate out, which for him is fine. You know, he's a native New Yorker. He's done it a good portion of his adult life up until I entered the picture, and he's of the metabolism that you can handle that. He was in college full-time. You know, he was forever walking around and doing things and taking the stairs and active, so it didn't matter so much for him. For me, not nearly the case. Drastically opposite, in fact. So I climbed up to about, truly, within the last month or so, I got all the way back up to 289. which is not something I like to admit, let alone admit out loud. But I got on the scale this morning and it was 284. So I'm doing something right in the last few weeks compared to previous to that. And I think part of it is that I actually have been taking my vitamins. Because after gastric bypass, you're supposed to be on vitamins. You're supposed to take them every day, basically, for the rest of your life, because you have been altered internally in such a way that your body is no longer physically capable of processing food the same, which means you don't get all of the minerals. You don't get all of the nutrients. You will need to take supplements for calcium, for protein, for iron, for B complex, all of these things. Vitamin C, but I don't do it. For years now, I haven't been doing it. And a lot of that is a complicated series of cost and time and hassle, and I just didn't give a damn enough. Now that's not the case. Now I'm working with doctors I actually like, who listen to me and work with me, who are easy to talk to. I am a lot more stable, not financially, I'm still working on that, but, I'm not worried that I'm not going to have somewhere to live next month, which unfortunately is how I spent several years. And I have a much more clearly defined support system, which is not just Sam. I mean, he's a huge part of it, but other family members have become a lot more reliable. From my perspective. So, 5 pounds shed. As I've said before, I don't like saying I've lost weight, because if I lost it, I might find it again. So, yeah, I'm running close to how I usually did in the past, so I'm going to shut up now. But hopefully I'll be feeling better after I rest today, and I'll get back to kickboxing this week. I'm certainly going to do more walking, but fingers crossed about the weight loss. Not loss, dropping weight. I gotta work on that. Alright, I'll talk to y'all later.